Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LAAGCast for the week of May 7th, 2018. I am one of your hosts, Max Williams. With me, as always, are Will Henry.
Hey there.
And Sam Richards.
Hello.
And, guys, the stupid thing of the week this week actually relates to something we talked about last week, which is the Indiegogo campaign run by Diversity in Comics for his new book, Jawbreakers, Lost Souls. The stupid thing is that as of today, as the book was being funded, it was discovered that a group of comic shop owners were speaking to each other in a private Facebook group and all agreeing that not only were they not going to be stocking this book on their shelves, but some of them might even refuse any customers who asked to order the book. And some went as far as to say that they would not stock any titles by the publisher that ended up publishing it, which is Antarctic Press.
Yeah. Wow.
I just don't understand how a retailer in a industry that is dying, no two words about it, the comic industry is on its last legs, why you would turn down sales on a book that would be a top 10 graphic novel this month had it, actually been in stores.
Well, Max, you're a regular at a comic shop.
Yeah.
Do you know if he'll be carrying it?
I don't know, and that's the thing is I don't know if I even really want to ask because I don't want to just necessarily out myself and be suddenly lumped in with a group that's considered by some to be so toxic to the industry.
Just look very serious, because then they don't know whether you're trying to get them to admit to it or whether you're a fan.
I probably will ask, just to see if they have any opinion about it at all. But I don't know if I'll commit to my side,
Yeah. Well, either way, this is an absolutely ridiculous stunt from the comic book industry. And that these shops are almost certainly being pressured by the higher up industry to act this way.
And, I mean, it's any store's right to do this. I don't want to say that anybody should be forced to carry it if they don't want to.
True.
It's, in this capitalist economy, it is your right as a private business to help your customer however you want to or not.
Right.
But from personal experience, I just don't understand how you could tell a customer, go to some other store for this, I'm not going to get it for you, because there's no guarantee that customer's ever going to come back to you.
And it's not just that, but the whole problem that these people have is a huge misconception in the first place. So to lose business over that is just, well, it's bad.
Disappointing.
It's bad business.
It's too bad. It is too bad. It's unfortunate. And, I don't even know if it's the stupidest thing of the week. It might be the most ignorant thing of the week. Because, as you say, these people are acting based on heresy.
Hey, stupidest is a wide field. You can fit a lot in there.
Anyway, let's move on to some game news, Will. What do you got for us this week?
All right. Well, in other stupid things, Walmart decided to go and list a bunch of games that aren't officially announced yet on their website with prices, which basically foretells everything that's going to be announced at E3. So Walmart taking all the credit. But the main one is Rage 2, which people weren't even aware was coming, and the Bethesda developers basically acknowledged it. Now, they might be screwing with people, because they didn't straight up come out and say Rage 2 is coming out, but they were like, oh damn, on Twitter when the news came out, so it seemed like an honest reaction.
I'm genuinely surprised about Rage 2, because it's been a while since Rage came out, and
I don't know what Rage is.
I also don't know what Rage is.
I have played Rage.
Alright.
Rage is kind of like what you would imagine a Mad Max game would be.
That's
like
what
you're
it
a guy
seems like.
in an apocalyptic desert world in the future where resources are scarce, and you have like a badass buggy that you're driving around, and so there's some vehicle combat. Your vehicle has guns and stuff on it, and you're driving around on pretty much an open world map. And then there's settlements and areas you have to go to, and there's one main hub with a shop, and you can do races from there. And it's just a sort of it's a first-person shooter with light car combat, or heavy car combat and light RPG, because you're buying stuff in order to up your skills, and you're running around and talking to different people to get missions, and it's
that sounds alright.
When I finally had a computer that would run it, because the PC port was buggy. I tried that game several times on earlier builds of my PC, and even though I was at the minimum requirements and everything, I would just get to a point very early on where it would not load, or something would just totally glitch out. Whenever I tried to run to an area, I would get get hard crashes.
Dang.
About 2 or 3 years ago, after my most recent computer upgrade, I tried it again. Just, why not?
Yeah.
And I did actually manage to. I don't remember if I beat it, but I believe I was close to beating it if I didn't beat it, and it was fine.
It was fine?
Yeah.
Just fine?
It was just fine. Like, yeah, it was a decent game.
Did it feel like a Bethesda game?
No.
Alright. Well, that's saying something.
We'll try it now.
It was very fast-paced. The open world was very compact. It was, various tunnels and sort of canyon areas. So it was, not open, really. You had to drive all these different roads. But actually, it was sort of like in the Final Fantasy 15. Like, you're exploring this map and you're getting through to certain points on the roads that they give you. It just doesn't have you can run out to anywhere and there's something there aspect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the car's controlled pretty fun. Like, and you would have to do, big jumps and take out, enemy gun emplacements to get through areas. And there was definitely some good potential there.
So what you're saying is the potential was in Rage 1, but the results might be in Rage 2.
I would be interested to see what they do. Yeah, because you could take it almost any direction at this point. They could expand to the open world part, or they could make it more, linear. But
They're going to expand on the open world part. Let's be honest. This is 2018.
Right. A more customizable car, maybe.
Yeah. But some of the other games that Walmart decided to leak, and some of these we already knew about, but Borderlands 3, there's a new Splinter Cell coming.
Ooh, it's been a while,
It has been a while.
I used to like
cool.
those.
Yeah, I think it's been at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and the last couple were weird, so.
Yeah, exactly. Gears of War 5. A lot of people are probably happy about that, who have Xboxes, aka 30% of the market of Sony versus Microsoft. Just Cause 4 and another Assassin's Creed.
Whoa! What?
Hey, don't start with that. Just Cause is a great series.
I just haven't played 3.
I should. I got it on PlayStation.
Yeah, I saw that. But if I'm hopping on the PlayStation, I don't know how I'm not playing God of War next.
Yeah, exactly. Well, alright, in other news, Fortnite has a special crossover with Infinity War, and they featured a giant Thanos.
How is Thanos in the game? Because my only experience to this online today was Thanos being incorporated into various memes and other things in his little dancing.
I think I know, because during the Christmas times, I remember they changed the balloon on the bus to a big Santa Claus.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm wondering maybe it will be balloon on the bus is a big Thanos.
No, it's definitely a special event where you and a bunch of other people have to go and fight Thanos.
Oh.
Because on day 1, Thanos was too difficult and was murdering everybody, so they had to nerf him.
They did.
They nerfed Thanos.
Oh, so that's pretty much, that's a great example of what's definitely going to happen between the 2 Avengers movies.
So that's how they do it. Okay, that makes sense now.
Who developed this movie?
Amazing.
Why didn't we think of it right away?
Well, he lost his cheat glove, his Game Gear, his Game Genie at the end of the last movie. It was all crushed and broken. And the directors have said in an interview, did you pay attention to that at the end of the movie? It took a lot out of him to make that snap. That hand was looking pretty messed up. So I think that just by doing the snap, they nerfed him.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
That makes sense.
Not to tangent us too much.
Now Thor can one-on-one him.
Thor already could have one-on-one him. They also said in the same interview that if Thor hadn't got greedy and gone for the chest and wanted to gloat at Thanos before he killed him, then they would have won, because if you put it in Thanos' head, Thanos would have died.
Blame Thor as much as you blame Chris Pratt.
Right. It is, it's just as much Thor's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad. Why do they have to go for the chest?
The dude and the man.
Oh, God. Good movie overall, though. I remember a lot more scenes from that movie than Justice League, considering I don't remember a single scene from Justice League.
It's such a master class on everything Justice League did wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright, well, anyway, we're not in movies yet. Let's talk about some games we played.
Somebody played Mark of the Ninja?
I played Mark of the Ninja.
How much?
Mark of the Ninja?
Okay, so I played, I want to say 2 hours of Mark of the Ninja.
That's good, man.
So, overall, it's a good game. But I could not play it because I wanted to play it faster. And it is a very touchy game. It requires you to follow the mechanics that it has laid out very accurately, and you can't really accelerate even if you know what you're doing.
It's a puzzle game, not an action game.
Exactly. So it wasn't what I wanted, because I want a stealth action game where the enemies are just super tough, like to the point where taking them out by stealth is just so much more optimal, but like you could still technically fight. This is just so much of a stealth puzzle game.
You want something that's this combined with like a Ninja Gaiden.
Yes.
And so it's those two things.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the stealth game that I want.
Right.
So I wasn't too big on Mark of the Ninja, but it was mostly just a me problem.
Expectation versus practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I decided to go on and play Hollow Knight instead. Because I already owned that, and I've been looking to play it for a while.
And that's what you wanted.
And it is much more what I wanted, because it is a bit of a puzzle game in the sense that you're always in a maze.
Right.
I spent like 4 hours in the first area, and a lot of it was going in circles going, why? I've been everywhere. I bought all the items. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's where I bowed out in my attempted playthrough pretty much.
But then I ended up finding the next area, and I did a little bit of that in the next area, but not so much.
Well, no, let me ask you though, when you say you found the next area, what was it? Was it like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious, why didn't I realize it? Or it's, that was really frustrating, why would you hide it this way, developers?
It was, I thought I've checked this way before.
Huh.
So
that's more option B.
Yeah, that's more option B. You're right. But the thing is, I've realized as I've continued to play, and I've found 6 areas now, that I know the areas really well. Mm-hmm. I barely need the map, and I only use it really for a reference of this is what the area looks like, less of I need to figure out exact routing, I guess, because I know how to get places and I know how to get them better without ever looking at the map now.
Right.
So the game has totally turned around. Originally I was like, this is kind of frustrating, but now I can wall jump and I can do all sorts of other fancy tricks and dashing, which you don't start off with as well, and the game's a lot more fun. I'm really enjoying it. And I love the fact that there's so many different routes to get places, but I don't know how to activate a lot of them. So the main puzzle is, how do I unlock all of these routes so I can get everywhere easier?
Well, how do you like the combat?
So, I was thinking about that. I think the game is lacking in the fact that it doesn't have a good parry. Because basically you just have an attack. You have an attack, a jump, and a dash, and that is your fighting mechanics. And if you attack at the same time the enemy attacks, you knock them away with a parry type thing. But I feel the game lacks a dedicated parry. But beside that, the combat is good overall because it requires you to. It's essentially just puzzle combat where the enemy has a pattern and you have to play around that pattern properly. And, that's decent combat because they feed you a lot of different types of enemies with different types of patterns, and it's not repetitive. And I think that's what makes the difference when the combat is like this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I've been enjoying that overall. And the visuals are great. The sound, I don't notice so much, so I think it's just okay. But the visuals, brilliant. It's all dark, of course, and that's the main theme of the game is that you're, a bug and everything's underground and super small. And, it's all super dark, but super nice because the greens are super green and the pinks are, radiant. Everything is just nice and stands out, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna play a lot more probably. I think I've played 8 hours or so now.
Cool.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah. What about you, Max? What have you been playing?
I have been continuing to play Final Fantasy 15 post-game. I'm not going to really talk about that much because that's been 3 weeks in a row. But I've been doing some pretty crazy dungeons, 84 floor dungeons, 100 floor dungeons with all these enemies. And I just got to say, Tonberries, fuck them.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
What I have been playing that's new is Pokemon UltraSun, and there's an interesting development on that matter because with the last time we recorded, I thought that I had done all of the island equivalent of the gems from the first game because I had gone through this dungeon, but it turns out that in addition to those dungeons, the island actually ends with you facing off with essentially a gym leader. It's called like the island master or whatever, but you do end up having a fight with a guy that's more like the traditional style of combat. So that isn't exactly lacking from the situation anymore.
That's good.
Okay.
Then I went to the second island, and while there, I started that island's dungeon challenge, which isn't an enemy combat situation at all. Instead, he makes me watch 3 Cubones dance twice, and I have to figure out the little thing that's different between each dance. And if I get the answer wrong, I have to fight a Cubone and try again. If I get the answer right, I have to fight a Cubone, but I move on and get to try again the next dance, and I have to do this 3 times in a row. And after doing this and finally getting to the guy, he did beat me. Like, I never lose in these games, and he got me.
Wow.
I only had 5 Pokemon with me because I was definitely overconfident.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he kicked my ass.
Damn.
And I gotta give them props for that because I am a veteran Pokemon player, and it really trounced me. The other thing I want to give credit to this game for, though, is a mechanic that they seem to have completely modified from all of the previous games, which is that in all of the previous games, there are certain techniques that come from hidden machines that you have to teach some of the Pokemon in your party in order to do map things, like in order to fly to a different area fast, the fast travel, or to surf on an area or break rocks. They seem to have replaced that with a mechanic where each island you go to gives you a new ride Pokemon that you can summon from your watch, that each has a different ability. Like the first one you get is a Tauros that lets you break through boulders or run really quickly and kind of replaces the bike.
Okay.
The second one you get is one that I cannot remember the name of this Pokemon. It's a weird new one, but he can sniff the grounds and find the hidden items that are invisible that normally you're just walking around pressing A to see if they're there randomly or not.
Oh, yeah.
And the third one you get is a Lapras, and you can just walk up to any water area and it asks if you want to call your ride Pokemon. So you no longer have to have anybody in your combat party devoted to utility. Because that's what I would always do. There would be one Pokemon that I would not use to fight that would just have 4 hidden machine techniques on it.
I think we all did that.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Remember playing the first game and accidentally putting Flash on a Pokemon you liked?
Oh, yeah.
So I am advancing weirdly slowly through this game. I haven't been super dedicated to it, but I'm going to probably accelerate this week and try to knock off as much as I can before we speak next.
How much do you think you've played at this point?
Well, I'm partway through the second island of 8, and apparently this game has significant post-game, so maybe 12%.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
Man, now I'm just thinking, how many Pikachus have been ruined by Flash over the many years that people have played that game?
Or Charmanders.
Charmander can learn Flash?
Pretty sure.
Oh my god, a starter? That they shouldn't have added that into the original game.
I know he can learn Cut.
That's true.
I've definitely ruined some Charmanders with that.
Yeah, I mean, at least Surf and Strength were mildly decent even into the post game.
Those are fine. I'd always give Surf to my Gyarados, and he's like my go-to.
Yeah. But anyway, I know that you guys want to spurg out about StarCraft right now.
StarCraft's okay.
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of StarCraft.
StarCraft 1, just to be clear.
Yeah, not
Brood War.
remastered. We're playing the version that is now free.
Did they remaster it? I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, $15 remaster that has updated graphics.
Oh.
And it connects directly with people playing on the original, so you can totally play with all the cheap people like us.
Same audio, though?
I think they might have updated all of that. I don't know, though.
I need those original sound bites.
Yeah.
Those
sound bites are
freaking
important.
fire bats. Like, who recorded that voice? That's crazy.
I know that they updated a lot of stuff for, they updated a lot of it for StarCraft 2 while trying to, keep it, honest to the original, but just improve the audio quality.
Right.
They probably took a lot of that and dragged it back into this one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, so we've been playing, some StarCraft, one-on-ones, and, those are, fun.
Yeah, I watched a couple. Well, you're devious. That's why I didn't download and play with you guys, because you're an insane person who, I walk back and forth between the 2 rooms of you guys playing, And, like, Sam is very chill, but he's very organized. Like, he's pulling the box around the groups and sending them to certain areas.
Yeah,
and he's maximizing production on the smaller amount of units, usually. And, he's playing Terrence. He's flying his buildings around to try to save them in order to salvage what he can. Will is, like, shotgunning development processes in order to get a nuke as early as possible.
Yeah.
And then he's, like, mass-producing guns. Like, this dude doesn't do 5 Marines in one barracks. He does 5 barracks, 2 Marines each. It's the weirdest playstyle I've ever seen. Is it mineral consumption? Like, what is that?
I maximize my early mineral gathering, and then I create excess buildings so that I can produce less soldiers early on, but if I get attacked, I can still get them out to protect my base. And then later on, once I'm rich, I can just send out wave after wave after wave and sacrifice them to the enemy's base until they manage to break through, and then it's basically over.
And it's more buildings that the enemy needs to destroy when he does eventually get into your base and gain an advantage.
Exactly, and I sped very early, so I always have like 3 bases within 10 minutes. So even if they get into my first base, I got backups.
And then there's the fact that he does 2 actions in the amount of time it takes me to do 1 action.
Yes, did I not mention that Will looks like a crazy person when he's playing? Click, 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 click.
Yeah, you say I look chill, but the whole time I'm just like, oh god, I gotta go faster. My heart's beating so fast, I gotta get shit out. Will's coming.
One game, I felt like I was going really quick, and at the end of the game, it said that my APM, actions per minute, was 71, and his was 25.
Yeah, I believe it.
25 is my average.
No, I'm fast. That's from League of Legends. I probably have some useless actions as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm watching you waste clicks all the time.
Oh yeah, tons
Every
of clicks.
6th click or so. It's like, wait, why is he going back to that?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Did you forget what that other thing is?
Oh, always.
It's still the most fun RTS I've ever played.
Yeah, no, it's just outstanding.
The different classes and the different way they work, it's just amazing, the different way they build things.
And all of the design is top-notch for all 3 races. Like, everything looks like you could not design anything better than that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just excellent.
It
has made me want to go and play Warcraft 3.
Ooh, I always like to play Warcraft 3. When are they going to remaster that?
Yeah.
So a while back on a previous podcast, I had mentioned that they were like adding it into servers or doing some sort of an update. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they have continued to update Warcraft 3 since then, and they've pushed out many, many more updates. Nothing big, but they're all like small little quality of life improvements.
Like stuff you can get now if you have the game.
Yes. So it kind of seems as though they are improving it. What reasons? Who knows? They might just do like a remaster. They might do a full update. We don't really know anything, but they're definitely paying attention to Warcraft 3.
I've gotten through the first 3 campaigns totally legally, but I've never gotten through that whole game without going to console. Playing as the elves in the forest part at the end of Warcraft 3, the 4th thing. That I just cannot. I just always get killed by the CPU.
I watched a speedrunner do that one time. The speedrunners use a trick where they have to get all of the enemies to line up single file, and then they just slaughter them.
Well, that is a level of mastery I will never achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, either.
Yeah, well, anyway, yeah, good video games.
Awesome. Do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, I was thinking we should take a quick break.
All right, we'll be back. And welcome back to the LAAGCast. We are going to now talk about some movie and TV news. So let's start with the very interesting, maybe good, maybe bad news that they have officially announced that Bill and Ted 3 is going into production with the original stars.
Hey,
Keanu enjoying a nice career resurgence.
Yes, indeed. Just have fun in his old age.
Yeah, and it's like, seems like right as soon as he finally managed to shed himself of the whole Bill and Ted thing, like the whole hey dude surfer, like, whoa thing, we're getting right back into it.
Oh yeah.
With good old Alex Winter.
It was about time.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if everything's going to get rebooted anyway.
Exactly. I mean, he still looks the same, so it's all good.
And the rule about these reboots and remakes being bad is slowly being taken down a little bit with the surprising news that the new Karate Kid series on YouTube Red is very good. They renewed it for another season today.
Yeah, that's kind of odd, actually. Is that out? Because I have YouTube Red.
You do?
I do.
Oh, we should watch it.
Yeah, we should definitely be watching that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, indeed. Let's watch that.
Yeah, let's start that for next week. Yeah.
They remade Evil Dead, and it turned out to be really good.
Yeah, so exactly. So a lot of these things have been relatively successful. So I think that we can be positive that they can pull something out.
Oh.
They've got good creatives on it. The director of GalaxyQuest is, I believe, attached to direct this.
That's good.
I believe some of the original writers, the writer of the original Bill and Ted, I think, is on board.
Well, you'd have to have that.
Yeah, so, excellent.
Yeah, that's definitely, I'd say that is good news. Indeed.
Yeah. Sam, how about the next piece of news?
The next piece of news is also good news, though it seems a little over the top.
Over the top?
Rick and Morty.
They told us it would happen.
For 70, Rick and Morty, 70 more episodes. That's a lot of episodes.
That's more episodes than there are right now.
That will put them at 101, which means that they will be available for syndication. So 100 episodes is the magic number. And again, Rick told us that this was going to happen. He said, it's going to go on forever, dog. Like, we're with Rick and Morty forever, a million adventures. We're going to go on everything. It's never going to end.
100 years, Rick and Morty.
And, if this keeps Adventure Brothers and Rick and Morty style pace, and they're only giving us 10 episodes a year, we're still in this deal for a decade.
Yeah, you're right. They must have signed a hell of a deal. That's why it took so long for them to confirm anything. It's just like, we want money for the next 20 years.
Well, Roiland, I believe, had said, I don't know if it was on Twitter or in an interview, that he was finding no motivation to work on the next season while there wasn't a deal in place.
Yeah.
So hopefully this enormous deal will have kickstarted his creative juices and is probably enough to buy all the booze he needs.
Yeah.
I mean, he drew a nice little picture for all the fans, so I think he's into it.
I think he should get some help, but I hope it doesn't affect the show too negatively if he does.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Just kidding.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, tell me about this, Will.
So in Fox News, Fox is... well, we got two Fox News here. It's the Fox News segment. Alright, but anyway, the team behind It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so that's the three guys plus some other people who work closely on the show, have had their new show, The Cool Kids, approved by Fox.
Yeah, I remember reading that this was going into production, I believe, unless I'm totally just making that up. But, it could be funny.
Yeah.
It seems like they're doing a TV show version of the Steve Buscemi, hey fellow kids meme.
Yes, exactly. That's the way it's described.
Right, so... Because when I read this news article thing you put here, and it said it's high school with seniors, my brain for a second was like, wait, seniors, high school already has them.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's true.
And the other piece of Fox News here is the unfortunate announcement of the cancellation of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's very sad.
It's weird because it is unfortunately a consistently low-rated show, but it was also consistently one of the highest-rated shows by audiences and critics. So the hope, I think, is that the show isn't dead, that it's just going to pull one of the moves that's more and more common these days, and perhaps move to Netflix or Hulu exclusively. I mean, I only watch the show on Hulu.
Frankly,
I bet a lot of people do. So Hulu, I think, would be remiss to let this opportunity slide because that cast is too funny not to keep going. The episodes are still too good.
Right. It's too perfect of a cast to let it die.
At this point, even YouTube could buy them.
I don't want to buy YouTube Red.
I know what you mean. I don't even pay for mine.
But yeah, I mean, come on, Hulu. Like, I already watched the show on there. It would be a seamless transition.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You listening, Hulu executives?
You better be at this point because we are slowly becoming the most relevant podcast into entertainment, movies, and comics.
Already are.
Oh, and gaming. Don't forget gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
We know you're listening.
But anyway, let's move on to some of the things we watched this week. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, Max, what have you been watching? Something
'Cause-
about worlds in the West?
Because, everything on the list here is stuff that I've watched, so I'm very surprised to hear, or I will be very surprised and interested to hear what you guys have been watching.
All right.
But anyway, yes, Westworld Episode 3. I'm continuing to truck along with Westworld. This was a very good episode, minus one scene, which people online have been rightfully complaining about. There's an action scene that is among the worst action scenes in memory. It's difficult because in a lot of shows you get away with doing a sloppy military action scene.
Yeah.
But in a show that is literally always asking you to watch for the smallest details, that everything has meaning, that like you do need to dig into every crazy idea you might have because there might be a kernel of truth in there. It just seemed like really sloppy.
That's bad.
Just like it's a straight up like, why would this highly trained military unit going up a bunch of old West types with revolvers and old school matchlock cannons not be using like sniper rifles and body armor? Why would they be walking across the field like a Revolutionary War army in a single line?
That's true. That's a good
It
point.
doesn't matter if you have P90s, like you're still vulnerable to bullets.
Yeah.
But other than that, very good episode. We got some good James Marsden acting as his robot host is slowly becoming one of the more interesting ones in terms of the question of what is consciousness and how are these machines developing consciousness if they are, because he's kind of like the best example we're getting of a robot that wasn't like affected or reprogrammed specifically by somebody in order to just feel this way, but just being shown by Dolores, the main character. Like, here's the truth of you. Here's me unlocking your previous memories. Here's what we actually are. And then he goes and does something that's counter to her orders. And so maybe she did teach him to free think, but may not go good for her.
Sounds like an intense show.
All the acting is really good on it. Jeffrey Wright as Bernard is superlative. I'm blanking on her name, but she played Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok. Tessa Thompson is also very good in the show as one of this weird, maybe like morally scrupulous executives. And it's just really good. You guys should watch the first season.
All right. Yeah. Have to.
Another thing I watched real quick, and then I'll let you guys go.
What is this?
This is sort of a weird one because this is actually a comedy special on Netflix. This is John Mulaney's comedy special, Kid Gorgeous, at Radio City Music Hall.
I have watched a John Mulaney stand-up special, and I do not watch comedians.
John Mulaney is a very funny man, and there was a brief run on TV for him when Fox gave him a show called Mulaney, where they essentially filmed his jokes from his stand-up material, added a laugh track, and somehow made it the opposite of funny. It was canceled well before the first season ended. But man, this guy's stand-up is next level, and I highly recommend it. I do warn you that he does get slightly political at the end. But I have to give this guy credit because he takes the time to actually write funny jokes. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say a bunch of like, oh, I don't like the new administration. He literally makes it like, man, there's a lot of crazy shit happening right now. It's almost like there's a horse loose at the hospital. And then he goes into all these really hilarious jokes about a horse being loose in the hospital. It's obvious what he's talking about, but he took the time to write funny jokes about it, so you gotta give the guy credit.
So he's an actual comedian, and he's not just like a person who gets up on stage and talks about things they like and don't like, which just seems to be a lot of these people these days.
Exactly. Most of the show, or a good chunk anyway, is devoted to him reminiscing about a police sheriff who would come to his school every year and give the students a talk about not being kidnapped or molested. And it is quite funny material. This man is a living cartoon character named J.J. Bittenbinder.
Oh my god.
And quite funny stuff.
All right.
You guys watched anything though?
I think Sam watched some Arrested Development.
I did, but before we talk about that, I watched season 3 of Better Call Saul.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Better Call Saul.
Yeah, it finally showed up on Netflix, so I'm a year behind.
You watched the whole season already?
I watched the whole season. Yeah, I blew through it because it's almost as bingeable as Breaking Bad was. Mm-hmm. It's got all the production. it's in the same place, lots of the same characters. Every once in a while you get a scene of Mike doing Mike stuff, you know, his whole shtick with being like the James Bond of PIs. And then most of the time it's just following around Saul, whose actual name is Jimmy.
Right, Jimmy
as
McGill.
He tries to be a good lawyer, but uses the law to, you know, his advantage. And it's pretty good all the way through. It's a compelling story. I had completely forgotten about what happened in the other past seasons when going into this one. So for the first 4 or so episodes, I was playing catch up. But it did manage to make sense after a while. And I gotta say that that show, anytime that Bob Odenkirk is lawyering to anybody, whether it's in the courtroom or he's just threatening to sue somebody, that's when it's at its best.
He's a good actor. His magnetic personality.
Oh.
Like, you just want to watch him do stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, fairly entertaining. And, you're looking back at all the characters, like Wheelchair Bell guy from Breaking Bad's a big character, and he's on his feet.
Okay, of course, yeah.
You know, sometime during
Esposito.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, sometime during the show, he's going to be ending up in a wheelchair with a bell, not able to speak.
Oh, is it actually going to line up with... Oh, I see what you're saying. That guy. Yeah, not Giancarlo Esposito, the guy he was taking care of.
Right, the guy who was taking care of.
Got it, yeah, the bell guy. Yeah,
the bell guy.
The angry landlord from Ace Ventura.
Right. Tuco was in earlier seasons.
Right, Tuco, of course.
So of course Sam would know the names of these characters.
Breaking Bad, I thought it was great. That was really great.
Cool.
But yeah, also Netflix released Arrested Development.
Did you get all the way through?
I did.
I only got through, I want to say 15 so far, so I'm almost done, but I'm still getting through. They added a lot.
Better.
I think it's good. Like, it's weird at first, especially.
Right, because of all the catch-up.
And it still has a little too much narration.
Oh, yeah.
And I do feel like it weirdly seems like they were designing it to run, like as if it was going to run once a week, because there's too much catch-up, especially as you mentioned, in the earlier episodes. Like, we're spending too much time in those white boxes.
Exactly, too much time in the white boxes.
But it does even out, you're right. And yeah, they added a surprising amount of material, I think. There's actors showing up that, little cameos that didn't make it into the original cut. Right. There's a lot of graphics they made of things, like album covers for Mark Cherry that I don't think were showing up in the original cut.
I believe you're right about that.
Yeah, like, there's all sorts of stuff that they've added. And Ron Howard definitely re-recorded some of the narration for this version.
Yeah, no, it looks like they did a really thorough update overall.
I think there's a lot of value, even if you've watched the previous version, multiple times. They added enough to it, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause I did watch the previous version and then this one right after, and this one was still interesting and entertaining.
It does have also the weird problem of, because of the way that the timeline works, some characters do weirdly disappear for many episodes at a time. Especially, obviously, Buster, since he only got one episode in the original season.
Right.
Since he's so busy on, or he was so busy on Veep at the time.
Why.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good cameos. So many people from The Office are in that season.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
They go back and forth very easily.
Right.
Yeah, very similar.
But, good stuff.
Yeah, so I was gonna not have anything that I watched, but actually right before recording this, me and Sam watched an episode of Black Mirror. And, that show continues to be far too creepy and far too based in reality.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten the number off that episode.
Yeah, the episode overall was good though, because basically the idea was that this kid had a chip installed in her head that allowed the mother to set parental advisory stuff, so the kid grew up without being able to see anything threatening or blood or like anything at all.
Blurred out.
Yeah, it all blurred out and the sounds changed and everything like that. And of course when the kid grew up, the kid had all sorts of learning disabilities, and so they had to reverse it. But the chip couldn't be removed. So basically, for a little while they were good, but then the mother wanted to spy on her daughter, and the chip was still installed, and she could use the chip to look through her daughter's eyes and to hear the stuff and to watch stuff, and of course this created, all sorts of big problems as the mother got super invasive and tried to destroy her daughter's life, and it's one of the few Black Mirror episodes with a happy ending where they get in a fight, the mother lives, the daughter lives, and they go their separate ways.
Yeah, the mother gets, totally bloody beaten by her daughter, and then her daughter runs away. So, happy might not be quite the right word.
Happy ending.
Yeah, because the way Will described it, they get into a bit of a fight and then start hugging and crying and I forgive you, but we'll go our separate ways.
Yeah,
so
no. It was a very nice Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good Black Mirror, but yeah, when she's beating her mom,
it didn't have somebody's life getting weirdly fucked up.
No,
permanently.
It seems like the mother might not turn out okay, but the kid seems like she's gonna be okay.
Right, the kid will probably be fine as long as she finds somewhere to go now that she's a runaway.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, overall, good episode.
Yeah, good episode. As most Black Mirror episodes are good, even if they are way too creepy.
Alright, so what do you say that we get into some character rankings?
Alright, so guys, I'm mixing it up again this week. We're not even going to rank 3 more doctors this week.
Ooh, okay, you save the doctors for later, especially the doctor.
We're going, exactly. We're going to save them for later. So the list that you can choose from today is either 3 head engineers or 3 helmsmen. Pilots of the primary ships.
I'd like to do pilots.
I'm done with that.
Okay.
Save the engineers. That'll be a good one, but we'll do it later.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Let's see what we got for helmsman. All right. So first up is going to be from Voyager, Lieutenant Tom Paris.
Tom.
Now I gotta say, if I was choosing a pilot for my own ship, I would pick Tom Paris from all of the Enterprise helmsmen personally, because he is like Riker. He is hardcore, next level, and willing to pull off a dangerous mission in order to succeed.
That's true.
He's, as far as actual ability, I'm not saying anything about his character yet, but as far as his ability, excellent.
That's true, and he is very gung-ho, and he's definitely better than a Wesley Crusher.
Well, hang on to that thought. But that said, the character of Tom Paris is meh. He was actually originally conceived to be the character that Robert Duncan McNeil played in the episode with Wesley Crusher in Next Gen. But because they didn't want to pay the writers of that episode royalties every time Tom Paris appeared on the screen, they changed the name and said it was a different character.
Wow.
So that's already a black state on him.
Oh, that is awful.
As I believe we've mentioned before, he is part of, unfortunately, the lamest best friendship, quote unquote, in Star Trek, with his weird bullying relationship of Harry Kim.
Right.
The main positive thing about Tom Paris as a character really is the fact that he leads us into the Chaotica related episodes. I mean, with his holodeck things, in black and white.
I enjoy a Tom Paris episode because he's crazy and he makes crazy things happen, and so they're entertaining episodes. But you're right, the character is very lacking in many ways, and frankly kind of frustrating. He gets you worked up.
I would argue that Tom Paris episodes in general are some of the better Voyagers. He's a pretty entertaining character if he's around a lot.
That's true. He's good to watch. It's not so interesting when he gets himself into trouble like Riker would get himself into with the ladies.
Right.
But if it's technical stuff, he can actually be pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's better than Harry Kim.
Now, as far as relationships go, he does have one of the not quite as good as a Worf-Dax relationship.
Oh, no.
But still pretty good when it comes to kind of an interspecies Star Trek-y relationship. I mean, it's okay. Don't they have a kid?
Yeah, but doesn't something weird happen with the kid?
Right, that's one episode, right?
Yeah. Maybe she's pregnant in the finale or something?
I could see that.
I don't remember.
It's been a long time since I went through Voyager all the way.
That relationship is weird because they never convince you that these people would actually like each other.
That is the problem with it. You hit the nail on the head right there.
So, Will, you said that he was definitely better than Harry Kim.
I think he's one better than Harry Kim.
So that's what I wanted to start a little higher than that. I wanted to ask if Paris is better or worse than Captain Jonathan Beckett Archer.
No.
He's worse than Archer.
But okay, fine. We can go below Archer. That's two clear no's. But what next step in place 20 would be Commander Shran. Do we like Paris better than Shran?
I like Paris better than Shran, but that's because I don't know Shran well enough.
I think that if I had the opportunity to take Tom Paris out of Voyager and put in Shran, that would be incrediable. But taking Shran out of Enterprise and putting in Tom Paris would be disastrous. So I would have to say that I would put Shran. Oh, but I don't know, man. No, I
just put him right below Shran and be done with it. That's where he belongs.
All right, Lieutenant. We're not gonna. He did get back to Lieutenant after his demotion, right?
Yeah, I believe he did.
All right, I don't know his middle name. We'll fill in later. Maybe.
Demotion. He's one of the. That is something that makes him a little more interesting. Is that he's one of the few officers to actually get demoted.
It's true.
During the course of the show. It's pretty cool.
Need it. They need more demotions.
All right, next on the list of helmsmen is Lieutenant Sulu. The series.
Good character.
Good character.
Interesting. Very much with the one-liners.
One of the characters who we know ends up as an effective captain.
Yeah, and an effective captain.
Yep. And I would say that he's one of the characters who is not better or worse in the reboot series. In fact, he might be one of the characters who's a little less interesting because George Takei is so much fun to watch and John Cho is just fine.
Right. John Cho, he seems to be maybe cooler with the action because everything is with the remakes. Like a lot more action goes in there. But not as interesting with, like you said. Just an interesting character, the way he speaks.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he is canonically the best sword fighter in Star Trek, I think, is worthy of props.
So I do like the sword
good.
fighting thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge Sulu fan. Just in general. I don't think he's the most entertaining character.
Well, I think that we should start for Sulu right around Weyoun.
Right around Weyoun.
Wayne's better.
Yeah, Weyoun is better.
Is Sulu better or worse than Janeway?
Janeway's
better.
Archer?
Oh, I think
Archer's better.
I think I agree with Archer.
Yeah, Archer's better.
Here we are again, Commander Shran.
Commander Shran.
I can't put Sulu below Shran.
I cannot put
agreed.
Sulu below Shran.
That was actually surprisingly easy.
Personally, I would have put Sulu above Archer, maybe above Janeway, but Hikaru.
I do really like the sword fighting thing
Sulu.
though.
All right, last on the list of helmsmen is Ensign Wesley Crusher.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Wesley Crusher.
Good old Wesley Crusher. We're going to talk a lot about Wesley Crusher later during the comic segment. Just a little preview. But for now, Wesley Crusher is a weird character because he's super annoying, but the performance is fine. Like, it's not his fault. You watch those early seasons, and he's being handed this weird, like, Wunderkind status that is just weird and annoying that, like, especially in, like, the first couple episodes when people are going, like, shut up, Wesley, and it's, like, really forced, and it's so out of character with the way all those characters would end up later.
Right, when he's just kind of being a silly goof.
Wesley is in the episode of Next Gen that is one of the best, in my opinion, maybe top 10, where he accurately predicted mobile gaming and what it would do to society.
That was a great episode.
And yeah, a lot of his, I mean, it gets a little weird with the Traveler stuff.
Gets a little weird, sure.
But Wesley, I think, is a character who is a little bit better than he gets credit for. And I think a lot of that has to do with us not being around when he's introduced and having to deal with this annoying kid.
It's like Will Wheaton's only actual good role, and it's just this annoying kid. How's that?
And I've met Will Wheaton. I hand sold him a book once.
Hey, that's nice.
And a very nice guy.
I was next to him at roller derby once.
Yeah. He's around. He's a regular guy.
He was definitely.
And the reason he did leave the series is because he didn't like the way they were going with the character himself. So
That's fair.
Yeah, I believe that him even getting into a regular uniform was them attempting to lure him back. And not quite working out. But yeah, an interesting character. But I don't know how high he's going to rank. So I think we got to start Wesley Crusher.
Liquidator Brunt.
I was actually going to say Liquidator Brunt. But I think I have to put Wesley above Liquidator Brunt.
Yeah, just a little bit, though.
Malcolm Reed? Is Wesley better or worse than Malcolm Reed?
Worse.
Ended the Reed alert.
She's worse than Malcolm Reed.
How's that?
The Reed alert. Malcolm Reed is, he was part of Section 31. Reed has a lot of very cool things about him. Wesley has a lot of good episodes around him.
Very true.
I just wanted to be on the record that I was willing to put him above or below Liquidator Brunt.
I have to put him above Brunt. Brunt's an entertaining character, but he's a joke.
Right.
Like, Wesley Crusher is a character with a lot of potential that was simultaneously under and overutilized. Like, it was underutilized by virtue of overutilization.
I've seen the episode where they're doing the little war game where Riker has to fix up the ship and
Wesley
the car's
cheats.
going off and Wesley cheats. And
Wesley cheats.
I love Wesley in that episode because of the fact that he cheats.
Him being as smart as they say he is totally believable.
Oh, yes.
Because of the things that they have him do.
In the Star Trek The Next Conversation podcast that I enjoy very much by Matt Meyer and Andrew Secunda, I recommend anybody who's into Star Trek listen to this podcast.
That's a good podcast. Very funny.
Andrew Secunda, who has this thing on the show a bit with that is Andy's theories. I'm not caught up with the show, but as far as I am, one of his main theories is that Wesley Crusher is actually an evil sociopathic genius who is manipulating all of the events on the ship to suit his own purposes.
Fun.
Yeah, it's
like when he releases the nanobots that turn into a life form.
He releases the nanobots. I'm still in season 1 of the podcast, so I believe that's the premiere of season 2.
Oh my god.
I can't wait, but it weirdly lines up.
Hey.
All right, so
that's it.
Anything else?
That's it. I think that we should take another break real quick.
All right, let's take a real quick break.
Sounds good.
Quick break.
Indeed.
And welcome back. We are going to cap off our show, as usual, with the comic segment. But first, we're going to talk about the Transformer of the Week. Now, this is a real throwback that you dug out of the collection here. This is one of our old Beast Wars toys that
I saw it and got excited.
We've had this guy for 15 to 20 years at least. This is Beast Wars Transmetal's Spitor. Who is some sort of a poison frog who turns into a hunchback soldier with gnarly claws. And I don't know why, but for some reason, this guy, we always really liked him. He was a real posable, acrobatic robot mode and an interesting, scary-looking beast mode.
And the difficult transformation.
I remember this. It's vague.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah, you were probably a little kid with me and Sam saying, stop touching our Beast Wars toys. You're going to break them.
Exactly. Hey, it's still there.
One of the few. But he is missing his little tongue/sword accessory. So it makes a lot will.
Good.
So real quick, a couple of news items.
Yeah, so DC is setting the price of their standard issues to $3.99. They were doing just a run of $2.99s.
What it was all of the titles that were coming out every 2 weeks, like Batman, Superman, Flash, I think.
Yeah.
Anything that was getting 2 issues a month was at a $2.99 price point.
Okay.
Now, they haven't specifically announced that they're ending that yet, but we did get the announcement that all of those comics are going up to $3.99. So I assume that the announcement will follow that those comics are going to, once again, a one-a-month release plan. Because, $8 a month to follow Batman is too much for a lot of people's budgets, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate, but I'm sure they're doing it because they have to. It is what it is.
Keep the industry alive.
The other announcement is that all of the Young Animal books from DC are going to be ending at issue 6, with the exception of Doom Patrol. I'm assuming it's the only one that's selling in any numbers that can be marketable. But these are titles like Cave Carson as a cybernetic eye, Shade the Changing Girl, I can't remember the other.
Well,
there was a Eternity Girl. But a lot of the creators of these books have come out on Twitter today to say that they were intended to end at issue 6. It was never planned to be any longer than 6 issues. So on the one hand, it means that those stories, if they're telling the truth, will be getting the actual endings they would have been getting.
And on the other hand, it means that these stories that have overall sounded like they're not the best are ending.
It's very interesting. Gerard Way, who is the writer of Doom Patrol, is also the person who's in charge of this pop-up imprint.
Okay.
So it's very, obviously he's going to keep his title going.
Yeah.
And yet it was the numerous delays on Doom Patrol that some people might think actually killed a lot of the momentum for the line in general.
That's fair.
So, yeah, we'll see. And it's as yet unannounced if the imprint will actually be continuing and more Young Animal books will be announced, or if they're just going to fold Doom Patrol into the standard DC umbrella and just, release it under their imprint.
Got it.
But on to the reviews of things we read this week.
Max, would you like to start off with some of this digital content that you viewed?
Yeah, there's some stuff that I don't get at the comic book store, some stuff I just happen to see on Comixology and pick up, and among those are some of the recent Star Trek The Next Generation comics that are dealing with the mirror universe of the Star Trek The Next Generation, which is one of the mirror universes that never appeared in the live-action show.
Before you get into this, can I just mention one little piece of news that I missed from earlier?
Yeah.
Because it's very minor.
Uh-huh.
But I saw that they were adding The Next Generation expansion to the Star Trek VR game that you can also play outside VR.
Yep.
And I was thinking that might be the point when we need to get that.
Yeah, if we're on the actual Enterprise bridge, or the Enterprise D bridge, I should say, as opposed to the Enterprise A bridge, that's a lot more compelling to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll definitely have to get that. I'm going to go ahead and say now.
Yeah. But anyway, back to your comic book.
So not only did I download the latest issue of this Through the Mirror series, which was the crossover between the regular Mirror Universe and Next Gen Cruise, but I also bought the collected edition of the first comic, which was just about the Mirror Universe version.
Yeah.
And I did review the 0 issue of this on one of the pre-release podcasts we did, which was all about Lieutenant Barclay of the Mirror Universe. Basically going through a trick test promotion and then becoming the chief of security for Captain Picard on the Stargazer.
Yeah.
And then the main series itself focuses on the fantastic plot of Captain Picard of the Stargazer finding out that, and the Empire's on the run from the Cardassian Klingon alliance at this point. They're in dire straits. Their ships aren't good. At the beginning, they capture a Cardassian cruiser that's having some malfunctions, and they haul it back to the Mars space docks, and they trade it for credits.
Yeah.
But while Picard finds out that they're constructing a new experimental warship, which will be called the Enterprise, the first Galaxy class starship that the Empire has developed, and he immediately decides that he's going to steal that ship for himself. And so the comic follows him recruiting his former chief engineer, Geordie LaForge, who isn't an engineer on the project, but is good friends with Dr. Leah Brahms, who is the chief of the development for the Enterprise's engines.
Right.
And there's a fun little scene of Geordie having dinner with Brahms and convincing her to work with them. And meanwhile, Picard has to go and convince the first officer of the Enterprise that he's a better option than the guy who's slated to take over the ship. Jellicoe, Captain Jellicoe, is going to be the captain of the Enterprise. But Riker doesn't like Jellicoe. So Picard hunts Riker down in a bar, and Riker has got a badass look, guys. He's got a scar, blind in one eye, and his beard has like a couple of braids.
Oh, yeah, really? Wow, that's a tough Riker.
And they get into a hardcore fist fight, which leads to Riker respecting Picard enough to decide to sign on with him. And then we get to my favorite part, which is the introduction of Dr. Crusher and her son Wesley. Because Mirror Universe Wesley is an evil genius. He's got like creepy spiked hair and pretends to be retarded. Sorry to use the R word, everybody. Developmentally disabled.
Yeah.
And Dr. Crusher hides the secret from the Empire, but Picard knows, and Picard, after he takes command of the Enterprise and doesn't have enough crew because they beam all of the crew they don't want into space and stuff.
Nice.
And he decides to make Wesley his helmsman and pilot, and everybody's like, what are you doing? And Picard's like, nah, this kid's a genius. And I just love it. It's hilarious. Like, Wesley has already calculated the entire everything the Enterprise can do. When Picard does his mutiny, he tells his mom, like, you don't understand, I've studied the entire manifest of the crew, plus everybody on the Stargazer. Captain Picard is the best captain. Like, he was a total, like, he's a Rain Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got it all. And it ends with them successfully stealing the Enterprise and almost getting away, but running into a Cardassian fleet while they're being chased by Federation ships.
Yeah.
And they manage to save the Federation ships and destroy the Cardassian fleet. And so the Emperor, or the head admiral that Picard is dealing with, calls him and says, "Hey, that's pretty badass. Why don't you just be the captain then?" And it's funny because the tactic that Picard uses to defeat the Cardassian fleet...
Hard maneuver?
No. It's... what's the Picard maneuver? Oh, it's leaving sensor ghosts, right?
No, the Picard maneuver is when you go into warp speed and then jump out of warp speed directly off of their bow.
Okay, so
fire.
What they do is they combine the Picard maneuver with the scene from Star Trek Discovery where they use the warp drive or the spore drive to jump around the Klingon ship 118 times or whatever.
Okay.
And he essentially does the Picard maneuver like 30 times. Like, they separate the ship into 3 ships. Riker takes the captain's yacht in order to draw their fire, while they separate the saucer section for additional diversion, and then Picard takes the main section, the star drive section, and does the 30 Picard maneuvers and nukes the Cardassian fleet from every direction. Oof. It's good comics.
Yeah.
And the art is weird, but you get used to it. The artist is definitely doing photo ref, maybe even tracing from stills from the episodes, because the characters all look at Jellicoe.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what he looks like.
Look at like Picard face, like that. Right? Like, those are definitely bits from episodes that the guy's photo referencing. You know, Data is part Borg. I didn't even mention that.
Wow.
He integrates Borg technology into himself in his pursuit of perfection.
Whoa. That seems odd.
And
It's mirror data, remember?
It is mirror data. And so, overall, I gotta say, this is one of the most entertaining Star Trek comics I've ever read. And I highly recommend it to anybody. And then, following right out of that, was the second issue of the Through the Mirror crossover, where we still haven't figured out exactly how the mirror universe has come into the main universe here.
Okay.
But the regular Enterprise stumbles across an Andorian battleship that has been attacked, and when they beam over, they find everybody's been slaughtered. And then the one survivor comes out shooting phasers at them saying, "Die, murderers!" And they managed to subdue that guy, and they're like, "Yeah, the people who attacked us, they look just like you, and they were Starfleet, but they were doing this thing where they warped in and shot real fast and warped back out." Then at the end, after the Andorian ship is having a warp core failure, so they get all the information they can off of it and beam out the survivors.
Yeah.
And at the end, Picard and Riker sit down to look at the data from the Andorian ship, and they see the security footage, which shows them, dun dun dun, there's Mirror Riker and Mirror Picard walking out with shit from the Andorian ship. And they're like, what?
Oh no!
All right.
So I am very curious, as to whether or not Picard will somehow gain access to the files that show Kirk's previous encounters with the Mirror Universe, and if that will somehow figure into the plot in any way, or if it'll just be a straight up like, oh, what's the Mirror Universe? I guess we're dealing with this now, which I really hope they don't do.
Right.
But so far, the attention to detail has been excellent. All of the Mirror characters are great. Like, Barclay is such like a weird badass, and Geordi is like, he's the same as Geordi because he's still put upon, but he's like angry and like does stuff about it.
Okay. Nice.
Leah Brahms, it's hilarious. Once they take over the Enterprise, she's never not drunk. Super random, because like at first LaForge mentions to Picard like, oh yeah, we can't use her right now, she's drunk in her quarters ever since we took the ship. And then later they're having like a feast to celebrate their beating Cardassian fleet, and Brahms is there and she's like, woo, like falling over. It's a weird choice, but when it comes to the Mirror Universe, weird choices are the best choices.
Well, it seems like the writers are very much fans.
Exactly.
Alternate.
It's a great week for comics, folks, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, that's true.
Next, let's talk about the finale of Sean Gordon Murphy's opus, Batman White Knight.
All right, opus.
Right into it.
He stuck the landing, guys. Like,
right, exactly, which is so hard to do.
It ended the only way it could end.
Right.
But he still managed to find some good angles on it. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, it's a great action sequence that leads to the defeat of the new Harley. Like, old Harley has some good moments.
She does have some good moments. This is a good comic for anybody who's a Harley fan.
Harley fans have to love it. You get 2 Harleys for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Like, whatever characterization of Harley Quinn you liked, she's in here.
Yeah, I really thought old Harley Quinn was going to stab new Harley Quinn to death at the end there.
I think she would have.
Really, like, sticks the knife in.
Oh, no, yeah, she fully stabs her in the chest one
yeah.
time, and then is about to, as you say, go for the killing blow, but until she gets the call saying that Jack had survived and wasn't dead.
Right, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And the noble sacrifice of the White Knight.
He even tells Batman that he should have let him die, because then he would have been able to die a hero. Batman says, I'd never let that happen.
Let him die a hero, or let him die or be a hero.
Either. And yeah, and then there's a super bittersweet scene of Jack being put into his new super comfy cell at Arkham, and he knows Joker's coming, but real quick before it happens, they ask if he and Harley can get married, and he literally turns to Joker in between her saying I do and him saying I do.
Yep.
And it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
The letter from Alfred is perfect.
It is. It's a touching letter.
The way he says, like, I know you waited a long time to read this, which he did. And he says, I know if you're reading this, Dick and Barbara, they're with you,
and
which
they
were. And then he says, pull-ups, look at something in the floorboards, but we don't see it.
We don't see it, no.
So that's definitely left hanging for the next series,
right.
White Knight 2, which Murphy has already said he's down to do as soon as DC lets him.
Right, and the Gotham City, what's the new police force called?
I don't remember. The GCPD force. Yeah,
but Batman lets them keep
GTO.
all the Batmobiles. The GTO, yes. They get all the Batmobiles.
And it's great because Batman drops the keys for all the Batmobiles on Gordon's desk. And each of the keys has one of the different Batman symbols from the different eras. There's Batman Beyond. There's Classic Batman. There's Tim Burton Batman. That's
perfect.
Yet again, and obviously any of us would look at those keys and be like, oh yeah, this is the key for this Batmobile.
Right, exactly.
And
good moment with the hopper.
And exactly. They use the tumbler for its intended purpose.
Yeah, the tumbler.
And it ends the same way as the first Iron Man. Almost. Iron Man movie. Where, Bruce reveals his identity to Gordon, saying, this is the only thing I can do, where you'll trust me.
He pulls off his mask in front of Gordon. Unprecedented.
And that's definitely going to lead. And this is after a sort of a very interesting monologue that Batman gives to Gordon about how, yes, he has gone after criminals, but some of it has also just been revenge. Sometimes it's just been an excuse to find people that he can really beat the shit out of.
Yeah.
And that sort of created people like the Joker.
Wow.
So things have to change. So, man, like, as crazy as this series was, I can't even imagine what direction Murphy has in mind for the sequel to this.
I know.
I look forward to it.
Me too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Really good.
So next, let's hit the third issue of Oblivion Song from Image Comics by Robert Kirkman.
Yes, and you are reading this one, right, Matt?
Yes, I am reading this as well.
It's just Versus that you're not reading.
It's only Versus that I'm not reading so far.
Okay.
And I probably will read Versus eventually.
Yeah. So, back into Oblivion Song. I still don't know the name of our main character.
It's weird, right?
The brother is Ed, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Ed has shown up for like a second, and I know his name, and the main character, I think it's like Peter?
It's not Nathan?
Nathan. That's probably it. Well, anyway, our main character's back on the other side, and he runs into some burly and beaten up fella.
I liked this scene because it was an interesting reversal of the way that this scene would usually go in any other fantasy or sci-fi.
It's true.
Where it's a guy from a world and a guy not from that world running from a big creature.
Yeah.
Any other thing in the past has always had the guy not from the world try to kill it, and the guy from the world being like, oh no, don't kill it, it's just an animal. Like, you gotta understand what to do. In this case, they had the guy from the world be like, nah, kill this thing. And the other guy being like, but we're the invaders in its territory.
Honestly, I like the guy. Like, he was tough, and he took it out with one shot.
I agree with him.
Really impressive.
Like, I can't really, I don't understand why this main character has this weird, like, Greenpeace
he's such
attitude
a pansy.
about these
should
horrible monsters that live in this other dimension.
He should hate these things. They've done such horrible things to his life.
Right, and he's like, it's not their fault. Like, no, no, you can hate rats. Like, you can hate, like, jackals that are infiltrating your village and murdering everybody. Like, Yeah.
True.
But yeah, the plot proceeds apace.
Yeah, he tries to send the other guy, our guy tries to send the other guy back to the real world by force.
Right, he tries to shoot him with his teleport dart.
And of course the other guy is a trained mercenary, clearly, so he does not get shot. And our guy has to get out of there literally half a second before he gets his head blasted off. So I guess he did a pretty good job of getting out of there on time.
Thank God his belt worked.
Yeah, exactly, this time.
But he still ended up in some weird, like, middle of the desert that he had to walk through.
Well, the first time he came out in the middle of the desert too, so I think that they can't quite control where he comes out. But
that's always super inconvenient.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, basically the issue goes on having more of a...
The alternate universe stuff I find very entertaining. Everything that's happening on our Earth, I find to be a chore to get through.
Yes, exactly. It's just... his life is falling apart because he wants to keep going to the other side, and everybody else is like, maybe it's not worth it, man. Maybe it's not worth it.
I don't mind that angle, but I feel like this comic dwells too much upon that angle. Like, we get it 3 issues in, we don't still need to have characters looking at him sadly and being like, why are you doing this?
So I completely agree with you, and I actually feel like we're going to be getting more and more of the other side, and right now it's a lot more set up. Because, like, at the end of this one, there's a bunch of forest dwellers that dealing with big aliens and stuff, and so we're leading into finding out who these people are, who Ed is, and it's like, yeah, about time.
Yeah, finally, because they were teasing him at the end of the first issue, and then they teased him at the end of this issue with this guy, but then we had him reveal nothing about this weird growth that seems to appear on people who've been there. Well, I mean, it seems like everybody who's been there has been there for the same amount of time, so, right? So it's not like some are more developed than others. It just seems like there's some sort of spore or something that will slowly mutate you into a Cthulhu monster.
Exactly.
So I'm still mixed on Oblivion Song personally. It's fine.
What if the people that they rescue bring back the spores?
That would be a weird twist. Because the thing with the people that they rescued so far seems to just be like, we're really traumatized and we don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, anyway, that was an overall good comic.
Next up, let's talk about an overall meh comic. Issue 2 of Immortal Men. It only took 1 issue to lose Jim Lee on art. Because Jim Lee was on art in issue 1. And artist in this issue is somebody Benjamin. I'm sorry that I'm not more versed in the artists right off the bat. It's Ryan Benjamin is the artist here. And I gotta be honest, at first I didn't even realize it wasn't Jim Lee because Jim Lee was kind of phoned in on issue 1.
I didn't notice the difference.
Yeah, it's very DC House style. I did appreciate that this issue very carefully introduced us to what everybody can do and what their powers were.
Kind of.
But I mean, we still got a basic, like, here's this person, here's their name, here's their thing.
Right.
Which you gotta have.
I was waiting for that to happen, and it happened.
But so far, none of the characters are compelling at all. The most compelling character so far is this guy who showed up in this issue to me, who's like the bodyguard that this kid's parents hired.
He was cool. He's the first cool one. And he's not even one of the Immortal Men.
Right, yeah, he's just, like I said, he's just some random bodyguard that the kid's dad hired.
Right.
Mr. Clay.
Right, so he's a mystery.
Yeah, he seems like he's going to be like a John Wick type. Like, he's a good with a gun and good with the driving.
Oh, let's hope.
I also did kind of like the villains introduced to this. Is this villain called Kill? Or The Kill?
The Kill.
Yeah. So
he was alright too, yeah.
So the Kill is scary and does scary things. And the other person who works for the villain is called The Hunt. So how the person has the hunt and the kill working for. I usually appreciate that kind of cleverness. The problem is that the comic that we're actually getting so far is not compelling.
Right, that's the problem. And then there's the problem with the Immortal Men, because it introduces them and, like, what's the guy who shoots the guns?
Reload.
He's Reload. And who's the ghost guy who punches? He's Ghost Fist.
That's true.
It feels kind of like this is somebody's dream from when he was a kid, and he made this, and he's like, someday I'm gonna be writing my own comics, and now he's there.
And these are the characters I came up with when I was 9.
Right. It feels a little bit that way to me.
Reload's power, I gotta say, is pretty cool.
No, it sounds very cool.
He can reset time in a small area around himself.
Subtract time,
which allows him to fire a single bullet hundreds of times.
Oh. Okay. That works.
Right.
So that's a pretty cool and original power. I appreciate that. But everybody else seems pretty stock. Like there's the Native American girl who can get big.
That's new.
And like a feral creature that can turn into a bigger feral creature.
Did you say everything grows?
But Ghost Fist is cool. He's got ghost fists.
That's all we know. But he also kind of reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode with the team that's like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
And you got the guy with the ghost trains who's Green Lantern-esque.
Right.
Ghost Fist kind of reminds me of that guy.
It's so true. Immortal Men does seem very much like one of those teams.
Yeah.
Next up was the 4th issue of Thrawn by Jody Houser.
Hey, back on track. Right?
Back on track. I liked this issue a lot more than the last one. The only thing I didn't love about this issue was that I feel like we did a one-page montage time jump of the potentially most interesting stuff, which was in between Thrawn first getting his classic Star Destroyer, the Chimera, and him being promoted to Admiral, which is a very cool single page, but like, man, show us some of that.
Right, no, it's just like...
It's just like,
you read this whole comic, and then it's like, victory for Thrawn has been achieved.
Right, because essentially it's a bunch of pages of Thrawn figuring out like the deeper things going on behind the scenes of what looks at first to be a standard weird land conflict.
Yeah.
And him being totally ruthless about it, finally getting his assistant a promotion.
And getting some corrupt Imperials sent away.
Right, and then it's like Jody Houser was like, oh shit, I've only got 2 issues left and he's not an admiral yet. I continue to be disappointed that we have not yet been introduced to Pelion, the character who is traditionally Thrawn's sidekick, the captain of the Chimera, while Thrawn is the admiral on it in the novels. But I'm hoping we'll at least in the last issue get some sort of like, I'm Lieutenant Pelion, serving under you. Because really when it comes down to it, this guy should have been Pelion.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Serves that function.
Right, exactly. Like the guy that Thrawn brought up. But, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But it continues to be pretty readable. Pretty enjoyable.
And then at the end there with the little reveal of our smuggler
I hope
who is
so.
not Han Solo.
I might be reading way too much into this, but on the second to last page, we get a quick view of a YT 2400 freighter, which is, of course, the ship pilot, or the style of ship piloted by Dash Rendar in the Shadows of the Empire game.
Very similar to the Millennium Falcon.
Very similar to the Millennium Falcon. More advanced ship. The Millennium Falcon is the YT 1300.
Right.
And then in the preview for the next issue on the cover, it looks very much like a knockoff Han Solo facing off with our lieutenant guy.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping against hope that it's Dash Rendar.
That would be really cool. It would be a good move.
Yeah, that's a good character. Bring him back.
Definitely.
All right, so moving on to what I thought was a real good read this week, which is the first issue of the 4-issue weekly series No Justice by Scott Snyder.
They
did
a surprisingly good job of explaining all the ridiculous things they hinted at previously, essentially.
Exactly. We got 3 writers on this. It's Scott Snyder, writer of the whole metal thing, James Tynion, and Joshua Williamson. But the real star here is the artist, Francis Manipal, who absolutely knocks it out of the park on every page.
There's so many nice splash pages going on in this, and the color palette used for everything, with all the pinks and the blues and the greens, that it's all very pleasing.
We finally get an explanation for the weird names of the teams that were introduced in the DC Nation Zero we read last week, which is that they're named after the 4 Omega Titans that are going to be our villains for this arc. And we get just that great setup with Brainiac. He needs a team, but he knows the good guys won't work with him. So he executes a brilliant plan that takes them all down, kidnaps them onto a ship, and says, see, you're ineffective without me. There's a huge threat coming. You need me to be your strategist.
Good.
And if we do exactly my plan, we will be able to succeed. And, of course, the big twist of the issue is that after being drilled into us over and over again, the only way that these 4 teams will be able to succeed is if they work in the exact teams he laid out and do the exact plan that he's laid out.
Right.
Then stupid Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad uses her amazing new Task Force 11, which appears to be a bunch of enslaved telepaths.
Yeah, very creepy.
To try to hack Brainiac's brain in order to get all of his secrets. And Brainiac's head blows up.
Yeah, that was quite a disastrous ending.
That is such a good setup.
Did not see it coming, not in that way. It's just the feeling of doom after his head explodes at the end is just perfect.
Yeah, no, it's great. Though, in the way they do the title on that page where his head explodes. No! And then the page, and they go, oh, what are we going to do? Justice! And then we're so fragged.
No, they'll figure it out, though. They always do.
So, yeah, that's going to be some good shit.
Yeah.
Some good shit.
Most likely.
All right. Guys. Venom 1 by Donny Cates.
Venom number 1.
I've never been happier with somebody's retconning of symbiote stuff.
Oh man, but so many promises for things that we... Oh man, so much promise for the future.
Does this issue suggest that Grendel from Beowulf was a symbiote?
It seems to be doing so, yes. From the first pages, that seems to be what's going on.
Ryan Stegman's art on this is next level. Like, this is Eddie from the 90s series, man. Like, this is that character in every way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the fighting with the other and its violent tendencies versus the good he wants to do. His whole chunky appearance with his long-ass hair.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of detail that goes into every page. But this was one of the biggest hyped comics on Twitter for the last several weeks. And for the first few pages, I was like, where's he going with this? Like, this looks really cool, but where's the story going to go?
It was continuing off what was going on in previous stuff.
When we got the reveal of the primeval symbiote,
Yikes.
Whoa. Like, this is some crazy what is going to happen. Like, it's very interesting, I thought, that his symbol turned into a dragon. Sort of a phoenixy dragon.
Right, and then he gets the big spiral over his face.
And he gets spiral eyes, and then he gets captured, and we get some retconning. We now learn that the U.S. government and S.H.I.E.L.D. has known about symbiotes for a long time and has used symbiote commandos for a lot longer than Flash Thompson.
Right. Which is interesting. That could give us some interesting comics in the future of their own.
Exactly. That's a cool thing that they can go for. This 2-page spread of Venom stopping the car. Fellas.
Just standing in its way and getting his shoulder into it.
There's so much motion in this page.
It's true.
It's the crunch sound effect. Yeah, it's... Oof, so good. And then the 3 other symbiotes that show, or the 4 other symbiote agents that he's trying to rescue show up. But then something weird happens with them. Yeah. And they're somehow being affected by something else. And we get the tease that something that the symbiotes refer to as God is coming.
All right.
And it's coming here.
And it's coming here.
That sounds bad.
Fellas,
So
Cates
good.
and Stegman have been going on Twitter this last couple weeks and being like, go ahead and throw your copies of Watchmen in the trash. Like, where this is going to be the new big thing. Like, I cannot believe that we're getting a Venom comic of this high quality in the year 2018. This is a 9 out of 10 comic.
Yeah.
Like, and they could go either way. Like, we'll see how it goes in the coming issues. But if they continue at this high level quality and they tell a story that matches up to the amount of setup that happens in this issue, I don't think we're going to be disappointed.
Hey, well, there's been so much and so much promise. Like, the guy asking Eddie the questions about his symbiote. Like, do you know its name? Do you know if it had any previous hosts before it came to Earth? Things like that. I'd like to find things like that out.
Yep. No, it's all very interesting stuff. The thing that this has been compared to the most online is Alan Moore's Anatomy Lesson, which is the first couple of issues of his Swamp Thing, where he blew everybody's mind by revealing that Swamp Thing was not Alec Holland. Alec Holland had died in the explosion, and the chemicals had interacted with Alec Holland's remains and some swamp shit to create a new being. But there was no humanity in him. He could never be turned back into Alec Holland, and then Swamp Thing goes crazy and kills some people. And it is like so amazing. And like this, I feel like, I don't know if it's that good, but
it could be.
I don't feel like they were overhyping themselves. I feel like they're justified in the amount of hype. Even if it was overhyping, they delivered a really high quality thing here.
Over being a Venom number 1.
issue 166 also.
Overall, they're releasing it at the right time, though, because there will probably be some people who go out to buy the new Venom comic because of the movie.
Yep. Hey, you know what Donny Cates wrote that I didn't make the connection on before?
Huh.
A Tomahawk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's got a similar horror style. I can see it.
Yep.
All right. Well, does that wrap up the show, folks?
That's all I had.
All right. Well, in that case, if you're a listener, you should go and follow us on Twitter at _lag. That's lag with 2 A's, LAAG.
We're the league of above average gamers.
We are, in
That's
fact.
us.
Yeah, that's us. You can also send us an email at lagentertainment@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Libsyn at lagentertainment.libsyn.com. We're also on YouTube. You can just search the LAAGCast for that. And as of now, we are also on Pocket Casts, Player FM, and Stitcher.
Stitcher!
Yeah.
That's a big one. Excellent.
That is a big one.
Hello, Stitcher.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess soon to be on iTunes, because all of the rest of the podcasting apps just take from iTunes' library.
Excellent.
Yeah, all right. So,
All right. See you on iTunes, folks.
thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.